Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is September 21st, and right now we're looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. A little bit of a late start to things here today. Had a few things to do because last night I was out at Mount Rainier shooting some lenticular clouds. Saw some really cool stuff out there. Hopefully I'll be able to share that video here with you before long on my lenticular collection for the mountain there. But on the way back on 410, coming up into Enumclaw, I struck an elk with my car, and my car took a pretty good wallop. So did the elk, but the elk walked off. I was able to drive off there, but yeah, I was pretty hopped up and wired last night, so I didn't sleep much. So I'm trying to get things in order today. But anyway, back to the forecast here. We're going to take a look at what's coming because we have some interesting solutions starting to show up in the extended forecast, and we're getting precipitation across western BC right now. That's going to continue, but what we're looking for here is just how much precipitation, what kind of frontal systems are going to be dropping down into the Pacific Northwest, because the Gulf of Alaska trough is going to get going as we go towards the end of the month, and it's even showing some pretty strong storm systems moving up towards Vancouver Island, which could include Washington and Oregon, for example, with some precipitation. So let's jump right into things. Saturday, Sunday, chilly mornings. Look at the Spokane for Colville out there, a freeze warning for northeast Washington. You can see the frost advisories out there also. So, protect your plants, watch your pets that are remaining outdoors. You guys know the drill. Looking at Seattle yesterday, only 64 degrees. 74 is the average high for this time of year. We did get a little bit of drizzle in the morning, squeezed out 200ths of an inch there. So now we're over 4/10. But hopefully we can pick some up as we go through the end of the month coming up here. And we just may do that. I'll show you that here in a moment. And I noticed there is a station up here near Nia Bay now on the extreme northwest portion here of Washington. I clicked on that one this morning. You can see the sun is actually shining out there. Got a pretty good UV index. And you can see lightning was last detected about a month ago, but it's got pressure, temperature, the wind updates every few seconds. You can click and graph all the status stores it for you in the cloud. So if you want one of these stations, click on that link down below to save 10%. This is what I'm going to be doing here for the next couple of days as well. So I'm watching this lenticular cloud activity. I'm going to show you what's going on here as we go through the day Sunday. Watch as we kind of get this northwesterly flow, and you can see the lenticular clouds flying off the higher terrain in the mountainous areas as we go on into the afternoon and evening tomorrow. So I may go out and take another trip out there again. The car is still drivable. Now, taking a look at what is to come. So fun stuff coming up here. You can see the upper level low for California. Here's Washington State. There's Oregon. There we got Alaska to the top of the screen. Put this into motion, and you can see the ridge building here. So we're going to warm up for a couple days at least. This is about Monday afternoon. I'm showing you right now. The ridge extending up across the Pacific Northwest. But look at this troughing here across the Gulf of Alaska. This means potential systems trying to move down into the area. This would be not a bad little punch here. That would be a decent frontal system that would impact some of Washington, Oregon, British Columbia, and you can see the strong troughing. Then the European wants to drive this very powerful mid-latitude cyclone right up towards Haida Gwaii, or otherwise known as the Queen Charlotte Islands, and you can see western BC here. And this could pack a windy punch across some portions of British Columbia, Washington, and maybe Oregon also, just depending on the track and the strength of this low pressure system. More on that here in a moment. And then you can see kind of a ridge trying to build here as we go all the way towards the end of the month, but the Gulf of Alaska troughing still rolling and wants to drop another trough down there, but that's way out in the fantasy land. No need to worry about that right now. So if we take a look at precipitable water, this is the atmospheric river that's been impacting British Columbia. Then another one, a pretty potent one as well, as we go on into the early portion of next week. And then we bring a couple frontal systems. The first one here as we go through about Wednesday at some point. But again, we'll be breaking this down day by day because no doubt the timing is going to be shifting on this. And this would be the stronger storm that the European wants to drive right in towards Haida Gwaii, these islands here. And there's Vancouver Island, and could pack a decent frontal system all the way down across the Pacific Northwest with that one as well. So if we look at some of these precipitation totals, look at this as we go through the day and the night tonight. Precipitation continuing to pile up for some of Vancouver Island and British Columbia, and this very sharp rainfall gradient just dodging a bullet here. If you don't like the rainfall, you're dodging bullets here across Washington and Oregon. But look at some of these amounts, up over a foot for some of western British Columbia. But then we start to introduce that potential for some frontal systems finally trying to get down into Washington and Oregon. But you can see it's going to be pale in comparison to what's going on across western BC in the meantime. So What I want to show you here is the European. This is mean sea level pressure and the low location. So they got 50 ensemble members in the European. You got 30 with the GFS. You can see the Gulf of Alaska here. There's Washington, Oregon, and California to the bottom right. So we put this into motion and you see the storm track kind of get going here back towards the Pacific Northwest. Pretty good model agreement through about 84 hours there. We continue on, and again, we could get a couple frontal systems coming up. But look at this. The European is stronger with this low pressure system here than the GFS is. But both models do show it. And just a reminder, we're looking at 126, 132 hours out in the forecast. So this is going to be changing. We have plenty of time to look at this and see just how strong the storm system is going to be and what kind of winds we can expect across the region if something like this would develop. But you got to use caution here. You don't want to jump the gun too much on that. And then you can see, again, some ridging developing onto the extended forecast, and then the Gulf of Alaska troughing still fairly active. And now this is looking at the ensemble member mean sea level pressure minimum wise. So this kind of shows you a different perspective of that map I just showed you. Put this into motion and you can see all the different ensemble members kind of showing you where they think the strongest, where the storm is going to be at this time. And you can see a very deep low at 958 right there. But you can also see some other fairly powerful lows a little bit further south that could pack a punch for this time of year for some of the Pacific Northwest. But again, this is a fantasy forecast. Do not get caught up in this too much just yet. Just check back tomorrow. We're going to try to compare the model runs and try to get some model consistency and just see what is going to be coming. So for example, if you take a look at Portland, we got this ridge building, some nice weather coming up. Looks like Tuesday might be the peak, but then things start to get squirrely out here as we start to turn the storm track back down into the Pacific Northwest, potentially. Fantasy forecast still. And then you can see Seattle as well. And then we start to get things maybe cooling down as we go towards the end of the month. We'll see how that trends. Here's Spokane, the warm up, probably Tuesday and Wednesday, the warmest days. Then the cool down starts after that. This is looking at Seattle, Tacoma. Again, we have a couple chances of rain coming up, mainly as we go through Wednesday and then maybe on into the end of the week as well. Again, it depends on the track and the strength of those storm systems here. And you can see the chaotic nature of these precipitation values once you look a bit further off into the forecast. But I brought this up here. So our first look at a fantasy windstorm off into the extended forecast. But you see the only 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6, 7 of these produced winds over 40 miles per hour. So it's still very much a long shot at this point. And again, it is a fantasy forecast. Just check back tomorrow. This is for entertainment purposes right now and just kind of telling you that we may have some systems trying to slide in here. This is looking at Quileute. You know, the better, of course, if you're on the Washington coast, the chances are going to be better to get some windy conditions from that. And this is Hoquiam. You can kind of see these bigger gusts kind of intermixed in here with some of these ensemble members. But the control runs on these models, on these runs for Hoquiam, Quileute, and SeaTac are much less than these very high-end individual ensemble members. So if we take a look at 6 to 10 day, you can see a little bit of near normal here and then a tiny bit of above normal there for some of Northwest Washington. And there's a 6 to 10 day, much of the lower 48 below average as we go through September 30th. And, you know, fire season not doing too bad. We are wrapping it up, but you could still have some issues out there, but just moderate risk right now. And if you want one of these t-shirts and help to support the page or one of the hoodies, and there's all kinds of products here too. You know, I own some of these. They're very nice. I wear them all the time. So does my son and my wife at times as well. So if you want to support the page, go ahead and click down there and order one, whatever you like. Some cool stickers in there too. But yeah, anyway, I'm very interested to see what the models are going to be saying as we go through the day today and into tomorrow morning. So be sure to check back then. Hope you guys are having a good day otherwise, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.